Hey everybody, good afternoon, good evening, good morning for those in Australia. Very excited to have you here. As you can see, there are no slides to begin today, which is exciting. If you can see my face and you can hear me, please type yes, you need a shave in the question box so that I know that you can see me. And Maya agrees. Yes, you need a shave, Lori. Thanks, Liberty. Dan, Valerie, Roger, Sunny, Imogen, Chris, Rosalind. Randy says the 4 o'clock shadow looks good. Good. Shave for all that is holy, Randy Spears. All right, today we have a real treat for you guys. A lot of you already know the presenter here today, Brian Meeks. He is the author of Mastering Amazon Ads. He's well known as the ad guru from his big successful Facebook group, and he is also an author who has put in over the course of the last couple of years around $40,000 into Amazon ads and returned $160,000. At least I remember that was the stats from months ago. Obviously, things change, but obviously, those are great returns. And he is here today to share with you the basics of Amazon ads, the how he's done what he's done, and all sorts of stuff. So, as Jackie says, it is a Brian fest. Brian, I want to hand things over to you. I will not shave in the meantime that I hand things over to you, but I will sit here and absorb some of this great information. So, without further ado, take it away, Brian.
Well, thank you much. I'm pleased to be here. That was a great introduction. We have discussed that. I don't know how many of you noticed that in the background, Brian Cohen has a copy of Curious George. So if this turns out not to be that interesting, just tell us in the comments. And Brian has agreed to do a reading from Curious George if we need it to save the webinar. So I want to start off by saying I don't know how many people here have been to webinars before, but there is a section where you can chat and leave comments. Not only is Brian here, but my assistant Lori Lutz is one of the organizers, and they will be watching for questions. So as I am going through the various topics I want to cover today, if a question strikes you, put it in there, and they will be periodically. I'll be stopping and asking them for group questions. So without further ado, let's begin at the starting place, because I'm sure many of you have maybe not tried Amazon ads yet. So I want to take a few minutes at the beginning just to show you where you log on, and I'm going to run 2 ads from scratch and show you how I do it. And it's not terribly complex. I am sure that given a few minutes, most of you could just go to the login and figure it out on your own. But since we're here, let's go ahead and teach you that. And so I'll share my screen, and then I'm going to go ahead and grab this and bring it over. Okay, so we're all familiar with KDP Direct, and normally most people spend their time on their reports page. I made this big. I don't know if you can see it, but hopefully on the very end, you've got sales dashboard, and you go all the way over ad campaigns. So you click on that and then view your ads dashboard. So this is how you get to the spot where you will actually run the ads. So I'm going to sign in here quickly, and it will take a moment to load because I run lots of ads. So when you load this page, it's your dashboard loads everything historical. So it is doing that for me right now. And then what I'm going to do while it's loading is I'm going to bring this over. This is a tool I use to actually create my ads. One of the little annoyances that people mention is that when you run ads, it can be a little bit of a pain if an ad is working well. Like you notice you're getting a lot of clicks and you seem to be getting a lot of sales on your KDP dashboard, and you've forgotten, because maybe you've run half a dozen ads, you've forgotten what the ad copy was that's working so great. And so you can find it out by just going into edit in the ads and then scrolling down and clicking on the inside the edit, you can click and find out what the copy you used was. But I find that to be a pain. So I make tools for everything. And so this is something I use just to make my life easier. And so the second thing that this does is you really want to, this is my first piece of major advice, you really want to make sure you have a naming convention that always yields a unique name for your ads. And the reason this is important is that if you build your own tool, or if you're using one of my tools, without the ad name being unique, the data will not calculate correctly because it will be confused when you're updating your data. And that's something that if you're new, you may not realize that the dashboard, the AMS dashboard, only provides summary data. And when we get to talking about analysis, you kind of need to know how your ads are doing on a daily basis. And if you can only ever get summary data, then you need to have a methodology to each day figure out what an ad's impressions, clicks, and spend were. So in order to do that, if you want to use something that I've built, one of my tools, Excel needs to have a unique name. So I kind of beat that to death, but the point is this tool allows me to have a unique name. So the first thing I do is the short for the book, and I'm going to use USW, which is Underwood Scotch and Rye. 3-letter month. This is January. The year is 2018. And we're going to see if I've run any ads. So I'm going to call this ad set 1. And when I click on it, it tells me the red bit is that I've already run a sponsored product manual keyword ads. That's what the sponsored product manual with a 1 on it. So if I want to run another one, which I do, I need to change this to 2. Now, I may have already run one there. Nope. I'm good with that. So this will be my name for the ad that I'm creating. Now, the bid, I should mention that at this point in the way I'm running ads right now, because of my course, because all of my ads that I'm personally running for my own books, I'm doing as research. So I want to put this caveat forward that if you see me bid something, this is not me telling you that you should bid it, because the bidding that I'm doing on my ads now is, again, for research, for some other concepts, for stuff I'm working on for the class. And so I am not purely trying to sell books. I am actually more interested in gathering data at what happens. So do not bid what I'm about to bid. This is a crazy bid, and I'm not going to go to length about the research that I'm doing. I have a reason for it, but I figure since I'm running an ad today, I might as well run a real ad that I want to have. So that's what we're going to do. We'll go back to my screen here. And so the bid for this sponsored product manual ad is going to be, and again, don't do this at home, 75 cents. My budget is going to be $50 a day. Now, at this point, the budget is something that people ask a lot of questions about. This is how much are you willing to spend per day? It's different between the sponsored product, the keyword ads, and the product display interest ads, where the budget will be lifetime budget of the entire ad. So I want that to be clear. Now, this particular type of ad doesn't have an ad copy headline. It does have then the main text. And so I was playing around with an idea before. I'm going to take that out and we will write some text. Now, one theme today is I'm going to talk about copywriting a lot. Copywriting is hugely important, but when you're doing your ads, especially new folks, it is not that important to stress out over your ad copy, because the click-through rate, really good ad copy does get you better click-through rate, which is a good thing. but the click-through rate isn't actually important. In 3 years of doing this, I have yet to find a statistically significant correlation between high click-through rate and how the ad performs, meaning delivering lots of impressions, which is what we want. So if you're just starting out, you should always try to write the best copy possible, but it is not something that you should stress out about. You shouldn't spend an hour consulting friends and stuff. Is this good ad copy? Spend 2 minutes, write copy, run the ad. That's what we're going to do here today. So the ad copy, you'll love this snarky cup of satire soup. It's, oh, you know what? I'm going to do because everyone enjoys an anti-hero looking for redemption. It will keep you turning pages. Okay, so once I hit end there, it tells me I've got 136 characters. I'm only allowed 150 characters, which is another reason I like doing it here as opposed to actually typing it into Amazon. Most people will just type it into Amazon and that's fine. But again, this is copy that I just wrote. Now, I do want to talk about a little bit about copywriting in that you, when combined with because, is actually, that is really strong copywriting. There has been research, and you and because, when put together, is powerful. It doesn't actually matter what comes after the because. People who have done these studies have found that something that makes sense that comes after because does not perform any better than something ridiculous. So if you can do a you and because, again, don't stress out about the copywriting, just do the best you can. So here we go. I've got my ad created. Now, I'm actually going to do 2 ads today. So I'm going to copy this down and do a product display interest ad, but I need a headline for my product display interest ad. And this will make more sense when we're actually entering these into the system. So I'm just going to take this little bit here and call that my headline. You'll love this snarky cup of satire soup, and 43 characters. So it's under 50, which is our goal. Now here, like I said before, the bid and the budget is a little different. The thing about bidding when you're doing a keyword ad, and this is an important takeaway, I want everyone to, if you're only half listening, stop, feeding the children or scrolling through Facebook or what have you, because people who have maybe a little bit of experience can get into trouble when they go from just doing keyword ads to also doing sponsored product display, product display interest ads. And the reason they get into trouble is because the bid that I put in here, 75 cents, which I'm not recommending, but if you did 30 cents, 40 cents, whatever you do, you're rarely going to pay the bid price. Whereas with product display interest ads, you will mostly pay the bid price. So with this 75 cents, I'm expecting to spend about 30 to 35 cents a click. I want to spend about the same much on my product display interest ad, so I'm going to bid 35 cents on that ad, and my budget is a lifetime budget, and so I'm going to go $1,200. Okay, so that is my basic setup for the ads. Now, what we're going to do is I'm going to actually go into, and I'm going to walk through the steps and where you put this information, or in your case, probably typing in this information so that you can run your ad. So let's go ahead and run an ad. There's a button right here. It's called New Campaign. So we're going to click it. Big yellow button. The first thing we're going to do is a sponsored product ad. So we click on sponsored product, and then we have to select the book. So we'll scroll down, and I know that Underwood Scotch and Rye is my last book. We will select it. It creates a default campaign name. But as I said, I want to use my naming convention, so I'm putting that in there instead, which this reads Underwood Scotch and Rye, January 2018, sponsored product, manual keyword, and this is the second one. The daily budget is 50. You can either run a campaign continuously starting through today or select a date range. I prefer campaign continuously, so I always use that. We are going to do manual targeting. Automatic targeting is actually very easy. You do that and put in the click and the text of the ad, and you're done. So that is something that you should certainly try. It is so easy though, I don't feel I need to give an example. So we're going to go back to manual. We're going to do add your own keywords. Now you can also, there are suggested keywords. I'm not going to do those today just for this example. I'm going to put in a keyword list, and I will go over here and grab one of these things I have set up here. Should have my keywords. And I stand corrected. I apologize. I need to open a file. So let's open here, go to my keyword file and keywords. Okay, so there is, okay, so here is a keyword file that I did, and it's just, this is actually done with just one search of on KDP Rocket. KDP Rocket is a tool that my friend Dave Chesson makes. It helps with building keyword lists. I'm sure people will have questions about building keyword lists. We'll get to that in a little bit. Me, I am just using this one list, and so I copied it from Excel, pasted in there, put in my bid, and oh, sorry, there we go. Okay, so I pasted it in this section, and this is what I want you to understand, the importance of having keyword list files. And this was just actually, this was one search, the word mystery, and this is the results I got. It gives me both a bunch of author names and then a bunch of the keywords. There's maybe a couple duplicates or what have you. I don't spend a lot of time curating my keyword list because I'm not saying it's not a good idea. It's just a huge bit of time consumption that I don't have. So in this case, we've just pasted the keywords in here just from Excel, which is important for you to remember. If you are going to build a keyword list, don't build it in your ads. Build it in Excel first, because then you don't have to rebuild it every single time. It will save you an enormous amount of time. So there we go. We've got our keywords. We've got our cost per click at 75 cents. Now this is where we put the text. So I will grab my text that I pre-wrote. I'll copy it, paste it in there. And then it gives you the image of what your ad is going to look like. And so if everything's good, and I always go back and double check to make sure that I changed my campaign name, because that's hugely important to me. So there we go. And oh, so sad. Okay. That was a great example of something you don't do. I accidentally clicked on what the ad looks like. And so it took me to Underwood Scotch and Rye, which is lovely, but here's the problem. The ad is now gone. So if I go back, it takes me to here. So I have to start over. So I'm going to do this very quickly, and I apologize for this, but I mean, I really want this ad to run, so I am, come on. Well, we will sign in again. There we go. We will grab Underwood Scotch and Rye. We will grab the name of the ad, put it in there. Average daily budget, $50. manual targeting, add your own keywords, grab my keyword list. And I've actually timed these ads. I think when I'm not talking over what I'm doing and so forth, I can do them in about 45 seconds once I have all the stuff pre-written and in that tool. And so add that, go down to here, add my copy there, and then hit submit campaign for review. And the submitting, when you're done, you will get this screen. Your campaign was successfully created. You will then get an email from Amazon telling you that you have submitted an ad. And sometime it says can take up to 72 hours. It's usually within 12. During the holiday seasons, it can be a bit slower. And sometimes they're just ads that take a couple days, but usually it's within 12 hours that most of the ads get approved. So we've just run a sponsored product keyword ad. Now we're going to do a product display interest ad. So let's go back and we will do new campaign, product display. We will grab our book, which in this case is Underwood Scotch and Rye. We're doing it by interest, okay? One question people ask is, do you do only one interest or all of the applicable interests at a time? I always do all of the applicable interests at one time. The reason is I've tested it. I did not see any benefit to doing them one at a time. But that being said, the thing about Amazon ads is they are always changing. So I should probably in the next 3 or 4 months do another test and see if doing it individually is better. That may be something you want to try. I haven't tested it in over 2 years. At 2 years ago, I didn't see any difference. So I still kind of stick with one set of interests. Let's go back here and pick those interests. This is humor, but I don't want just humor. I want a little bit more. So I go literature and fiction, I go contemporary fiction, I go genre fiction, literary fiction, United States. And then because there is sort of a comedy, romantic comedy sort of element, I put that in there, and those are all of my interests. Then choose your campaign name. So I already have that. Copy and paste. Underwood Scotch and Rye, January 2018, product display interest ad 2. Cost per click bid. Now it is recommending 16 cents to 27 cents. As I told you, I'm doing research, so I'm doing a crazy bid of 35 cents. I'm not recommending you do 35 cents, but that's what I'm doing. My budget, $1,200. And the default is 60 days, so I will just leave that. I will put in my headline, you'll love this cup of snarky soup. So you'll love this cup of snarky soup. Then I will take my text, because everyone enjoys looking at an anti-hero for redemption. It will keep you turning, excuse me, turning the pages. I like the better, so I'm going to put the in there on this one. I didn't have the on the last one. We will see. So that's it. Then down here, it shows you what it looks like on the various places that it might run. Now here is an important thing to understand. This screen right here is why product display interest ads are wonderful. And this is something I want you to think about. One of the strategies for being successful at Amazon ads is to advertise your book with the most margin. If that happens to be a box set, and you have a 3D box set image, as many authors do, it will not run on the Kindles. Amazon doesn't run 3D box set images on the Kindles for the product display ads. It is completely worth it to dump your 3D image, even if you love it, just to have a shot at these ads, because the realities are, if you look at the ad when it's the lock screen, you have all the real estate. That's a big deal. It should be noted that between the two ads, it takes about 1,000 impressions to get a single click on a keyword ad. It takes about 150 impressions to get one on a Kindle. So they are very effective. I do recommend them. I think it's worthwhile to switch from a 3D cover for your box set if you have one. So that's a good tip. Write that down in your notes if you're taking notes, or file it away in your brain, wherever you want to keep that tip. Hold on to that. So we're going to go back here, and I like the way it looks. I'm going to go ahead and submit. So let's submit it for review. And sure enough, my campaign is in review. Now there are, like I said, there's also product display product ads. There's a new type of ad that I can show you that I have done very little with, but if you click on product display and then you go down here, there is by product, there's actually, you can target specific products. Oh wait, hold on here, well now it's interesting, one of them is gone. I don't know, well, I stand corrected. There were 5 different types of ads, 2 keyword types and 3 product. I'm not seeing one of the products. So that's the way it goes. Let's, at this time, I've been talking quite a bit. Brian, have there been any questions regarding what I've done thus far?
Yeah, there have been a few questions, and thanks to everybody who posted them. If we don't get to it now, we'll definitely get to it towards the end of the presentation for some general Q&A. And if you have any questions, feel free to post them here and we'll take a look. So there were a couple questions asking if you would share those spreadsheets with macros after the presentation or during the presentation.
Well, I have the thing is, with all these tools that I build, they all require a certain level of customer service. And so the issue is, all of the tools that I build, I do provide them to my students in the course because I do a lot of customer service anyway. But the main tool that I'll be showing here shortly, so this is something that I built. This is my main analysis tool. This is actually an older version. I built this thinking I was just going to help everyone. It was going to be fantastic. I released it into the wild back in February of last year in my Mastering Amazon Ads group. And I literally still almost, or coming up on 11 months now, spend 3 to 4 hours a day doing customer service, helping people with this tool. And so I hesitate to just throw these out there for everyone because it's just hugely time consuming on my end. And so again, they are available for the students in the class, and I have videos on how they're to use them and so forth and all, but I'm going to be showing you a lot of things. The stuff that I'm doing in Excel, it doesn't need to be as complex as what I'm doing. Most of this stuff can be done on pen and paper. But again, I apologize if that sounds stingy. It's just that I know if I unleash them, there's 217 people here that would consume enormous amounts of time over the next month. And so the answer is sort of, but you got to kind of sign up for the class, and that's I know that wasn't the question. Anyway, any other questions?
Yeah, so Maxim asked about kind of those with sponsored product keyword ads, the
Yes.
auto targeting. Have you played around with that? Do you find that
Oh, yes, absolutely.
works
Yeah.
well?
Oh yeah, I use the auto. They're easy ads to run. And I use them, I actually use all of the, well, it was 5. I don't know why it's only 4 types of ads, but I am running those ads all the time. And when, again, right now and during, from really November of last year, probably through the end of April, all of my ad running will be research related, where I'm doing research on conversion rate for descriptions. I'm doing amazing, just mind-blowing research on back matter conversion, which is something that has just shocked me to no end, and I'll touch a little bit on that here in a bit. But when I get through that, going into the summer, then I will go back and I will run using all of the ads. The automatic ones, I love them because they're easy. The keyword ones, I do a lot of different ways. And again, I mentioned this a little bit, but it's a good question. There are authors out there that have massive keyword lists, 5,000, 10,000 keywords. They curate their lists, meaning they go through and they eliminate some keywords, and they really try to get a polished list. Now, I don't do that. I'm not saying it isn't a good thing to do, but one of the things I want to research between now and the end of April is the value of all of the enormous amounts of time spent polishing those lists up, does that end up with greater number of impressions yielded, greater ROI, all these things. Right now, my gut tells me that spending a ton of time on that isn't worth it, but I believe in data. I may be wrong, and that's why I want to test it. Right now, I just generate lists, bang, and I've got them saved now. I don't spend a ton of time on lists. Periodically, like once a month, I may spend an afternoon digging up more keywords and adding them to the list, but I do not go in and look at how my individual keywords are doing and analyze those results. And there's a reason. And actually, I was going to talk about this later, but it kind of makes sense now with the question. Let's go back in here and go into my advertising campaign. And this is another one of those important things that you need to stop looking at cat pictures on Facebook for a moment, because here is a keyword list. So this is an ad that's been, I started it on the 20th, and so it's got 136,000 impressions. I know it's hard to see here. Okay, 136,000 impressions, 76 clicks, 22 cents a click. This is, again, where one of the ones I'm doing where I was testing the 75-cent, I think it was 75-cent bid. We're going to go in and look, and let's see here. The keywords, let them load. And unfortunately, one of the downsides when you get a lot of ads is it looks like my bid on this test was 50 cents. So regardless, let's go back to the screen. And so I've got these bids, and this is what a lot of people will do that are curating their lists. And this is why I question the value of it, is that if we look at the clicks, and you can sort here by, you see how I clicked on it to sort, I can sort by impressions, which one has the most impressions, which one has the most clicks. In this instance, it's the keywords for the love, okay? Now, here's the important thing. This has 14,000 impressions, it has 7 clicks. Somebody may look at that and they may conclude, oh, well, that's horrible. It should be getting 1 click every 1,000 impressions. It's only getting 1 every 2,000 impressions. Without going into the way bell curves work, the way standard deviation and all, this is still fine. But even if it wasn't, you're not paying for impressions, you're paying for clicks. So I don't really care that this one has 1 in 2,000, whereas this one is 6 of 9, so it's 1 in 1,500. This one is 1 in 1,200. This one's getting down close to 100. This keyword, Russell Brand, at 3 clicks in 1887 is not in any way superior to the one that's 7 in 14,000. But there are people that curate their lists and they look at this and they panic. And that's the motto of my group is don't panic, because nothing on this screen, and let me go back to the screen. So nothing here is statistically significant. If you want to analyze your keywords, you can do it if there's 500 clicks for a single keyword and nobody gets that. That's the problem with doing analysis. So if we look at the other end, so here, there are people that have said, oh, if I get 2,000 impressions and 0 clicks, I kill it. Or maybe they say 10,000 impressions or whatever. But let's go back to the sorting by impressions. Okay, so here's 2,000. These all have, that's fine. You're not paying for impressions. My point is there are very few instances where you will have enough data to make a decision about your keywords. And here's another thing. The ACOS column. Okay, this is, I want to warn you, I'm about to go on a rant. It may get ugly, because every day of my life, since I started the group, I have been preaching this. And every day for the rest of my life, and I plan to live to 350, I'm going to have to say this over and over again. Do not make any decisions based on ACOS or the sales. It is not accurate. This ad is showing 0 sales. It says no sales. I know there have been probably 4 sales. None of the ads, the thing is, the ads, the AMS reporting is just abysmal. You cannot trust the ACOS. You have to look at your KDP board. And if you are somebody that has a lot of organic sales, then you may have to do a 21-day moving average. And then when you run an ad, look at the growth over your historical. I mean, that's a little more complex analysis. But you cannot look at the ACOS and make reasonable decisions. I get people who reach out to me and they will say something to the effect of, can you look at my ads, and I just killed a bunch of ads. What do you think? And what they've done is they've killed ads with high ACOS. And I tell them that I think they've made a horrible blunder. I don't know why people wait until after they've killed an ad to ask me, because this is another important thing to take away. Once you terminate an ad, you can't turn it back on. Copying the ad and starting it again is no guarantee that you're going to get similar results. And so the point is, this ACOS number, and here's 2 ads. Let me show you these 2 ads. Okay, these 2 ads for Henry Wood Detective Agency are, the ACOS number is 263.53% and 44.29%. Those numbers mean nothing. I do not care what the ACOS is. Now, if I see somebody that's got an ACOS of 2,000 or something, well, at some point, yes, you can say that that's horrible. But here's the thing. The sales that report on this, A, they will not catch them all. B, they do not include KU page reads, which I'm exclusive. And C, the sales that they do include may not show up for 2 weeks. So I can't stress this enough. If you choose to make decisions based on ACOS because you're assuming it's a reasonable tool for making those decisions, you will probably get malaria. It's absolutely true. Maybe gout. You're going to, at the very least, put on 20 pounds and your children will stop loving you. That's how bad it is. So that's the end of my rant. I'm going to go back to teaching Amazon ads stuff now. But actually, let's go back to Brian. I kind of beat that question to death, but I did cover some important stuff with regards to keywords. So
I'm going to go with one more question now,
okay.
and we'll tackle more questions later. Kind of the general big time question that Zach asked Which one works better, sponsored product keyword ads or product display ads?
There is no way to answer that question, because what works today for me has zero bearing on what is going to work for him and his books. We write in different genres. We would have different keyword lists. We would have different price points. We would have different descriptions. We would have different covers. We would have different back matter. All of those things are important, and that's what I'm going to talk about next. And so if you're under the impression that there's an easy button in this, there's not. You need to test all the different types of ads. You need to test different bids. You need to watch them daily. You need to change your description, change your back matter. All of these things are impacting the success of your ads. And so there is an answer. Now, like Brian's mentioned in the intro, I've spent, well, now I'm probably closer to $45,000 on AMS ads. Almost all of it, probably greater than 95% of it, has been product display interest ads. Everybody swears that they don't work. Now, admittedly, they have struggled the last 2 months during the holiday season, but holiday seasons are always hard. So there just isn't easy, but you've got to try them all. And if you get one that works, one single ad, that's not statistically significant. That's not going to tell you anything. You need to constantly be testing. But the end result, the way it can change your life, is so important that it is worth spending this time. And I know most of you would prefer just to be writing books, and that's great. But the fact that you had enough interest, there's 214 of you here, or 211 not counting Brian, myself, and Lori. You had enough interest to look into this, means that you see the value. And I can tell you from the coaching of one woman last year, February 24th, when I met her, the first day I opened my group, she had a large catalog, a lot of different genres, $1,000 a month. At the end of the year, the day before the end of the year, she reached out to me. She'd done $200,000. Now, she'd done $80,000 in spend. So, but still, she was on pace to make $12,000 a year. She made $140,000. And she used all the different types of ads, and she did testing. And at different periods from February to the end of the year, different ads worked. Some would work better during some months and some would work better than others. But the important thing is that she did the testing. She watched them every day, and it does get easier with time, but she did the analysis, and she just kept making new ads and trying new things. And she got to where she was doing this, and she did all this on 16 books. Now, she has a massive catalog, but I told her, and this is another good, important bit of advice, if you're an author that has a lot of books, I would recommend starting, if you have multiple series, pick one of them and start with that, because there is a bit of a learning curve. So that's kind of my answer, is that there's no easy button, but it's worth the time and effort. And so the next thing that I want to talk about, though, is sort of the analysis portion, because one of the important things that, let me see here, just a moment. One of the things that you need to know is, do you know what your read through is? And let me bring the screen up. Okay, and here's the deal. So calculating read through is something that is pretty simple. You can do it, again, with pen and paper. I'm doing it with a pretty Excel spreadsheet because it's easier for me and it shows up good for you folks on the screen. But
Brian, can you explain what read through is?
Yes, read through.
Thank you.
That's a great question. Read through is simply somebody has bought book one in your series or a standalone, because you can get read through from one standalone to another, and they get to the end of the book and they read through to the next book, meaning they finished the end of Henry Wood Detective Agency, book one in the series, and they so enjoyed it they went on to buy book 2. And this is a hugely important concept. And I got to tell a story. So I have this Henry Wood Detective Agency series, and this is the example I'm going to show you here in a minute. I got my start writing. I wrote my novels as blog posts, 1 chapter a day or every other day, whenever I felt like. I was mostly a woodworking blogger. But when I didn't have anything about woodworking to write, I would write a new chapter for the Henry Wood Detective Agency, which is something fun I was doing on my blog. Well, because I had originally never intended to write more than 1 chapter, I put this stupid time travel clause in the first chapter. It's now actually chapter 2, but in the first chapter, because it was sort of a joke for my woodworking readers of my blog, because the Bosch router that I bought, the 1 1/4 horsepower router that I bought the day I wrote that chapter, didn't exist in 1955, which is when this story took place. And so I said there was somebody in the future sending presents back to Henry. Dumbest thing in the world. I've gotten some negative reviews, and people say, well, what are you doing? But there are people that like it. Now, here's a valuable lesson. You can have a theory about why something works or doesn't work, but until you have the data, all it is a guess. And though I'm pretty good at analysis, I spent 7.5 years as a data analyst with Geico, where a 15-minute call could save you 15% on your auto insurance. And yet I still make this mistake where I will get something in my head and it will cost me money because I don't test it. I just assume through hubris that I'm right. And my assumption that the reason I only had 42% of the people that read book 1 went on to read book 2 is because of the stupid time travel clause. Turns out, the testing I've been doing lately, I was wrong. I have absolutely changed the read-through numbers through my research into back matter and the science of back matter, and it is crazy. And so my point is, don't assume whatever number you get from calculating your read-through, don't assume it's as good as it can be, or make up reasons why maybe you have really bad read-through. Don't just guess at it. Try to do the math and figure out if you can change something and improve it. So read-through is going from book 1 to book 2 to book 3 to book 4 and so on. Or if you have a standalone, you can have a standalone like I have Killing Hemingway. And maybe somebody goes and reads that young adult and goes to my other young adult, Secret Doors. So, I mean, they don't have to be in a series, but it is a crucial number to know because, as you're going to see here in a moment, when you're advertising book 1 in a series, you're not just getting the revenue from selling or getting the KU downloads if you're exclusive for book 1. You're getting additional sales down the road where you didn't have to spend any more on advertising. And that's an important concept. So let's look at calculating read-through, because I want you to take away from this lecture how that's done, because it's an important number and all of you should know it for every one of your series, or again, if you have standalones, what the read-through is from one book to the next. And so let's go back to the screen here. Okay, so what I have here is, and again, you can do this on paper. So I've got the 4 titles of my books: Henry Wood Detective Agency, Timing and Perception, Edge of Understanding. The KENPC number, which many of you may not know, is actually different than the number of pages in the book. This is the number of pages that you get credited for when a person reads your book in its entirety through KU. And you know what? I'm going to take a second just to show you how to find that, because again, most people don't maybe know that number. And that, if I were giving you homework, I would say, and actually I do that for my students in the class. This is one of the things I told them they have to do is you go find this number for all their books. So you go to your bookshelf, and then here's Underwood Scotch and Cry, the sequel. If I wanted to look up the KENPC number for this book, I click on Promote and Advertise right here, and it takes me to this page. There's this section, these two sections, and then earn royalties from KDP Select Global Fund, and it's this number right here, 286. So I want every single one of you to look up your KENPC number, jot it down in a Word document, better yet, put it in Excel so you have it for all of your books. This is an important number to always know. So let's go back here and look at what I did as far as calculating the read-through. So I've got my KENPC numbers. I've got my date range for individual study. Now this is an updated look at my read-through after I had made 27 days earlier. Well, I did this from the 22nd through the 16th. I had made some rather aggressive changes to my back matter from book one. And so in doing that, then I wanted to see, did I drive more people down the ladder to timing and perception, edge of understanding? Was I getting more page reads? If it's done correctly, the answer is yes. The final number you get, and we'll show that in a moment, is the number that should be in your head when you're sort of figuring out how much can I bid. And so anyway, over that time period, I had 8 sales, or this is actually, this is not correct. This is me having messed with it a little bit. That's one of the advantages of having a tool, is that you can do what if scenarios. And I think it was actually 3 and 3. Let me see, does that look right? Yes, okay. But you put in the number of sales, and I use, again, KDP, and I had 8, and then I went to 5 and 3 and 3. Now here's the thing, at this point in time, now these page read numbers were correct, but one of those 8 sales actually happened on the last day of this time period. And so you always need to be cognizant of when things are occurring when you're doing your analysis, because if you have 8 sales, but one of them happened just 4 hours ago, it's unlikely you've given that reader enough time to read through. But again, for this analysis, I included that sale in there. So again, I've got the time period stuff is more for my understanding how I did the analysis if I want to look at this in the future. You don't need that bit. What's important is you know your KENPC number, you know the number of sales, you know the number of page reads. Now what you do is you convert page reads into downloads. So I simply divide this number by 262 because that's the number in the book, and then I round up. This is another important concept when you're trying to calculate your read through. If you have page reads divided by a number and it comes out to 9.01, you know at a minimum 10 people downloaded your book, because the 9 people can only account for 9 times the number of KENPC pages. If you have even one more page than that, there's a 10th person. Now, what is more likely and what is actually happening is you probably had 15 people download the book, and they're at different stages, and that's what's making up your total. But we don't know that number, so we always look for the least number of, or the most possible number of downloads based on the page reads. I hope that makes sense. It isn't too confusing. This number divided by this number, and you round it up. Anyway, so what I do is I take the list price times the sales, okay, and that gives me the sales revenue. And I took off 5 cents for delivery costs because, as we know, Amazon charges us a little bit for delivery. So the read-through sales revenue is $3.44. For this study, I get that for every one of the 8 books. And so 344 times 8, I get that. Now on the next book, what I have done is I take this number and I get the percentage of people that went from here to here. And then I take the list price, which okay, this is going to seem odd and it goes against everything I preach. You'll notice it was $3.99. I'm constantly preaching $4.99 and above. I lowered the price of Time and Again for a test eons ago, and I never raised it back up, which was dumb, and I should do it today, and no, I won't. I'll put it off. Lori, I need you to bug me every day until I change Time and Again back to $4.99 because I can't be trusted to do it on my own. So I'm assigning that task to my assistant, Lori, to bug me every day. So she will do that. But the point is, for this example, I'm putting in the amount of revenue I get, which is $3.99. I then don't take 5 times 70% of $3.99. I take the percentage, which 5 divided by 8, let's just get that number. And again, I'm just using a calculator right now. 5 divided by 8 equals 62%. So I take what the revenue would be if I had all 5 sales, and I only give myself 62% of it, because that's so I'm getting, what I'm saying is, instead of getting revenue of $2.75 per sale, I'm thinking in terms of getting just $1.70, because it's based on I'm trying to get a read-through value, and it's a percentage of the people that started at book 1. And so this is all based on book 1. So anyway, I do that for each of these books, and I get both a read-through value, and then I do the same thing for page reads, where I'm calculating the revenue that I generate from the page reads and do a percentage of it. Now, I apologize. I know that's a ton of math, but the concept is simply, if you've got 100 sales of a book, 1, and you have 50 sales of book 2 over a fair period of time, you know that 50 of the 100 people decided not to read your next book, and 50 people decided to read your next book. Same thing if, when you're doing the conversion for page reads. If you've got 100 download equivalents and only 50 download equivalents of book 2, half the people are staying with you and half are not. And you'll find that in most cases, the number of people that then go on to read the rest of the books in your series stays pretty high. The most crucial moment in your publishing career is the moment right after the end. That's where, if you nail them, you might get them for the rest of your series. You might get them for every single book that you've written. And so it's fairly important. And again, I won't get into a ton of the weeds about that analysis. I mean, I literally, we've been here for an hour. I'm going to try to wrap things up here, not too distant future. But if this sort of stuff is, if you see the value in what I'm talking about, then it really is worthwhile taking my course. And I know this sounds like a sales pitch only because it is, but I 100% believe in what I'm doing. I believe that I can help anyone make really good money as an author, because it's pure and simple. Almost every indie author I've ever met, and I can only think of one that has just such a bad cover it makes me cringe. Everyone else now knows you need a high quality cover. Everyone gets good editing. Everyone produces a product that gets 4.0 or better reviews. And so we as a community are producing a high enough quality product that the customer base, the readership, will buy it. And so there's so many things that you can learn from going beyond just reading my book or what have you. And ironically, in my course, we're through 8 lectures now, and I do a live lecture every week. And we've really not spent much time at all talking about Amazon ads. It's an Amazon ads marketing course, but the point is, if you don't optimize your description, your back matter, and do these things, then you're spending more upfront on the clicks, because it takes more clicks to get a conversion. And once you got that conversion, if you've not optimized your back matter, and this is, again, this is crucial. I'm so blown away by the research. Last week's lecture was about the back matter stuff. It is, I honestly believe that I could charge what I'm charging for the course for just this one lecture, because the value for somebody that when they take off and they start doing 3,000, 5,000, 10,000 a month, when you have changed your back matter and your read through has gone up substantially, that means not tens of, I mean, it could be tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars over the course of your career. And so this is important stuff. And, you know, I know nobody likes to be sold something, but I truly believe the stuff we're talking about right now will drastically change your writing career. And so let's get back to the data. So I think you get the concept. Read through is going, you want as many people as you can get from book 1 to book 2 to book 3 and so forth. So going back to my little thing here, the important bit of all of this is just me entering the data and trying to give you a sense for how you calculate it. When you get down here, the end, it tells you then what the value of a single new reader is, knowing that some of them will only read book 1, some of them, a percentage, will read all the way through, and some will stop somewhere in between. And this does the calculation. This says that my revenue, my projected revenue from a single new reader is $8.18. My projected page read revenue on the read through is $4.30, which may not seem like a lot, but here's what's amazing. And this is where I just nearly lost my mind with excitement. The beauty of this is that when I get done with an analysis, I transfer it and it saves my historical. So I can look back at all my different read through numbers from different periods in time and compare them to what my new one is after I made this change. And I should say, and this is important, I always preach statistically significant data. This data here, 27 days, the number of sales, it is not statistically significant. The reason I'm excited about my back matter research is because of a study I did with a client of mine where we did have statistically significant data, and the numbers were insane. On a free book, for 9 days prior to the change, there was 1,800 free downloads, okay? There were 36 sales. We changed the back matter of book 2. We changed the back matter, and during the next 9 days, there were 45 sales. And you might say, wow, that's pretty good. That's convincing. But that's not the part that blew me away. During the previous 9 days, the 1,800 downloads, there was something that went on there that there was a little bit of a spike. He got 46 sales, or I'm sorry, 45 sales, 9 more, 36, and then 45, with only 1,300 downloads. His read through jumped substantially, and it was all it was changed the back matter. And so I've now done several tests, and so this is, I can say with confidence that it works. And so anyway, let's look at what my back matter used to be. 661 was the value of the first book, 691, 666. And these are over statistically significant periods. I mean, 675 sales, 2,000 sales, 1,339 sales, all right around in here. And look at my my read through on the KU page reads, 365, 330, 310. Now it's $8.18 and $4.30. That is a massive difference. And if you have a massive difference like that, it means several things. I haven't even optimized the back matter of the remaining books, meaning I've only done book 1. I mean, the potential to improve it even a little bit more is pretty good by doing the rest of them. But the takeaway is this: if you have a big number for your read through, then you have a competitive advantage over everyone else, because you can bid more and get those clicks and still have a massive ROI. Which brings me to, and I know we're at 2:05, but this is important stuff. And I want to talk about the description conversion, because almost everyone out there, I know, except for Brian Cohen, who's a copywriting master, but most people out there do not optimize their description. It is hugely important. I keep saying that over and over, but the two key elements are, we want to convert. You're paying for clicks. If you spend, say, well, I'm just going to use 20 cents because it's easy to do the math. If you're spending 20 cents per click and your description is like 99% of the descriptions out there, including traditional publishers, meaning big blocks of text that's a summary of the story, and no hooks or no proper copywriting, your book is priced at $4.99, it's going to take 30 clicks to convert. So just doing the math, 30 times 20 cents is $6. Now, if you have a read through of $8, you'll still be profitable. But how much more profitable are you if instead of it taking 30 clicks, it takes 10 clicks to get a sale or a KU download? That is a massive improvement. And I want to show you, I hope I have them up here. Let me see. I've got, okay, my old workbook. This is Underwood Scotch and Rye. And again, I know it's very small here and it's kind of hard to see, but let me make it big. My description for Underwood Scotch and Rye back April of last year converted at about 1 in 12.5. And you see it moves a little bit. 12.5, 12.5, 12.4, 12.2. But it's pretty steady. That 12.5 was after I made a change in the previous September, where for the first time I used proper copywriting on my description. It had been 1 in 30, and I got it down to 1 in 12.5. So my profit margin went up substantially. And this is all statistically significant. This is 10,000 clicks over however many days this was. I then, because it's important to understand that even if you're really good at copywriting, like I said, Brian Cohen, I mean, he wrote the book Sizzling Synopsis. He's really good at copywriting. I have become pretty competent at it. I am better today than I was in February of last year because I've done so much of it. It's something that, it's one of those things. And again, this is another bit of homework that I give to my students. Copywriting is about short bits of hooks. And I tell my students, when you're on Facebook and you see a picture of a guinea pig, because we all love guinea pigs, and you want to say something that is cute, well, if you hold down Shift and then hit Enter twice, you can add a blank line in between your copy. And while this seems like I'm getting off topic, my point is, I tell all my students, whenever you're having any sort of interaction on social media, try to do your writing as a proper copywriter. Opening hook, less than 6 words, then a space, then another line, then another space, and another, maybe a paragraph with 2 or 3 lines. I do that whenever I answer somebody's question. If you look me up on Facebook and you see I've answered a question in the 20 books to 50K group or what have you, I use proper copywriting, and it's amazing. I get vastly more likes on that, which tells me people are reading what I'm writing because of the copywriting. And so if we think about our description, if you use proper copywriting, people will read it. If you have giant blocks of text, they will have clicked on your thing, they will look at it, their eyes will glaze over, and they won't read it. I know it's ironic that they're in the market for like a 50 to 100,000 word book, and they're going to sit and spend 2 or 3 hours just reading, and they can't be bothered to spend 6 seconds reading your description, but they can't. Our attention spans have been crushed by Facebook. And so my point is, practice copywriting, short bits, hooks. It's not prose, it's not fancy. It's boom, getting to the point, keeping people engaged. And if you do that, and then you do it on your description, you can go from 1 in 30 to 1 in 12. But you know what? Because I got better, I decided to redo my description again. So this is from April. Let me go grab Let's see. This is current. And again, right now, because I've been doing tests, I've been running a ton of ads on this book, and so I don't have statistically significant number of clicks. But if I have been looking at this now for several months, and the number of days where this range has existed has now been long enough that I just absolutely believe it. Normally, I mean, I didn't even believe this number for probably 50, 60 days, but now it's been probably coming up on 100 days since I made the change. And if you just add up all of that time, it's still the same conversion rate, which again still shocks me. But this is actually my third change. I did a change in the middle where I got it down to 1 in 9. The latest iteration is 1 in 4.2, 4.4 is probably where it's at. It takes almost, I mean, that's not many clicks at all. And I'm getting either a KU download or a sale. And so my point is, you're probably needing 30 clicks. And this is whether it's organic traffic or Facebook ads, or you just ran a BookBub. In fact, tonight's lecture in the course is about optimizing a BookBub promotion, because I have a client and he ran a promotion back in September. And between then and now, we optimized his description across all of his books. And he just ran another one. The difference was 38,000 to 58,000 downloads. And I should look these numbers up. He was actually in a smaller category on the one that just ran this week than he was on the one in September. So the one he submitted for, sometimes BookBub will say, well, we'll give you this other one. And so the main thriller category that he was in, he was pushed to some other category that had fewer people in it. So the massive increase in number of downloads, the only difference was, aside from it being a smaller group of people, it was a description. And so I will pause there, and I'm sure there's more questions. Again, I threw a ton at you, but thinking about things like description and back matter and stuff is just as important as analyzing your AMS data. And so, Brian, do you have more questions? I'm sure there might be some.
Yeah, there were a lot of questions about the back matter changes you made specifically. Jackie, Michelle, Jack, Mary, Lee, and Stella all wanted to see if they could get some more specifics on how you changed it that led to the big growth.
Well, again, that's an hour-long lecture, and that's again, that was my lecture last week, and the details in that, I don't believe you would believe me if I just said do this. It is honestly, the realities are, everyone except for the 117 people in my course you're all doing your back matter wrong. And I can say that, and I know it sounds arrogant, but I've got the data, and again, it's another hour. And so that's something that I'm being a little selfish here, but this is something that I'm the only person in the world that has this analysis right now. Nobody knows that everyone's doing their back matter wrong. And the competitive advantage you get, I want you to imagine you're a romance author and you've got, say, 2 8-book series. Okay, romance is very competitive. But the thing about romance is you've got millions and millions of readers, and the readers consume enormous amounts of books. They might read 20 in a month. Now, I want you to think about the really successful ones. Those authors, and they're all doing their back matter wrong too. I mean, don't get me wrong. But what they have done is they have hooked their readers enough. They probably have pretty good read through because they've grown and they've got some name recognition and all. And people may not even care about the back matter as much, in that they know this famous person, and so they're going to read the next book regardless. But if you, who is not known, can hook them with the back matter and get them to the next book, you might get them for 16 books. And if you keep a person reading just your stuff for an entire month, you've not just made revenue, which is nice, you've locked in a super fan that you're going to keep for the rest of your life. And during that time, they weren't buying anyone else's books because they're just buying your books. And so, again, I would love to just give all, well, no, I don't want to give all this stuff away for free because I'm working 80 hours a week to do this analysis and run these things. And so if you're interested in that, and I think it is worth every penny just for last week's lecture on back matter, because it will absolutely change your results. Again, that's up to you. It's, I think, Brian, a link to the course, if there's some folks that are interested in that, can you do that at this point?
So that lecture you were talking about, the hour-long lecture on back matter, that was as part of the course?
That was part of the course. That was last week's lecture. The week before that was the lecture on copywriting for descriptions. And then this week's lecture is about the research I just did with the BookBub and how all of those things, the description optimization, the back matter optimization, led to such just insane results. I mean, BookBub is always great. BookBub is always great. And it blew me away that we could improve on a BookBub so dramatically by doing these things. But the realities are copy matters. You all know it. You've all watched commercials on TV. There are jingles that stay with us for decades. Coke is it. I just saw a billboard sign that was beautiful. It said, in quotes, "Trust me, you can sing," end quote, dash, it was attributed to alcohol. That's funny. I mean, I'm in Las Vegas, and so trust me, you can sing, alcohol. And it was an ad for a liquor store that was right below it. That's brilliant copywriting. It works. And so the course it's about Amazon ads, and there's three major components. It's talking about how to analyze things so you actually know what's going on. It's about optimizing your description, getting good at copywriting, and then about the back matter. And if you know how to analyze and do that, I mean, we don't really talk about how to run an ad because by this point you probably know how to do that. But those things, it's more a course designed to build a strategy that you could use, because a good description or back matter, it doesn't matter if you're using Amazon to advertise, or Robin Reads, or Facebook, or running, Pinterest, whatever it is. These skills will make you more profitable over the rest of your career. And so I absolutely believe every single person, and I mean, maybe if you haven't written your first book yet, maybe you're here and you're just interested in doing that, then it's probably a bit premature. But if you've got a couple books and you intend on continuing to add books to your catalog, you will not regret. You will absolutely love this course. And again, I do it like a college course. Every week I have a lecture, and we're up to, this week is, I think, lecture 9. I may be missing the numbers, but there's 4 or 5 after that that are mostly going to be more about the art of analysis. And then you'll be a lifetime member. And as I do new research, I will probably just go in and, once I've ended to the last course of this, the lectures that have been scheduled, if I think of new research, I'm going to just add it to the mix and send out a thing and say, hey, we have a new lecture coming up. It's about, how to incorporate guinea pig pictures into your marketing strategy or something like that. So sorry that was such a long answer, but
no, it's okay. And for those of you who didn't see the link in the chat, if you're the kind of type it into a browser type person, we created a nice little link here, sellingforauthors.com/Amazon, and you can look to see if you want to join the Mastering Amazon Ads course. If anybody has any questions about the course, now would be a good time to ask them. We've got a ton of other questions to go through.
Okay.
I've tried to group them. I've tried to group them as much as possible.
Sounds good.
So let's see. Jack had asked much earlier, when you're pricing a book, does it have to be $4.99 or higher if you're going to take best advantage of the ad strategy you have, or can you make it work? Karen had asked, she has a bunch of 99-cent short books. Can people take advantage of these without the $4.99 pricing?
Yes, but with the caveat that you understand that you're using 99 cents as a tool. If you're pricing all of your books really low because you think that drives sales, people, when you're running Amazon ads, the customers you're reaching are different than the ones you've been reaching doing 99-cent promotions through Librarian. These are customers who don't really care. 99 cents will convert better than $4.99, but not massively better. And so people who have like all their books at $2.99 and have never tried $4.99 and they're terrified of trying it, the thing that I would suggest is give it a try. Can you have a 99-cent book as a lead-in? If you've got, say, 7 or 8 books in a romance series and they're all $4.99 and you think you can drive more sales into your funnel and your read through is 90%, yes, use 99 cents, convert higher because you've got such good read through to the next one. But if your read through is like 40%, well, then it's going to be much tougher. You may still be profitable because you've got so many books. So there's a lot of different components to look at. It can be done. If you've got 2 books, it's going to be harder. And honestly, if you only have 2 books, I would price them both at $4.99, unless they're like 100,000 were books. Then I'd go $5.99 or $6.99. And as you're writing more books for the series, save doing 99 cents till later, because here's another area where I think a lot of indie authors panic. They worry about their ranking. Underwood Scotch and Rye, which I used as an example, had its best run of overall ranking like 2.5 years after the book was out. I had a string of ads that all happened to turn on during the same time, 10-day time period. And it ranked between 520 and 980 for 10 days, 2.5 years after it came out. And so that's an area. Don't stress about your ranking when you're new. Just focus on getting more books. And early on, I would train your readers that you're going to charge them full price. Now, when you get out 5 or 6 books, if you want to try 3 months or so where you're doing 99 cents to see if you can increase your revenue globally across all of your books, absolutely give it a try. It is worth doing, but each scenario is different. And so you really need to think things through. But you can absolutely advertise a 99-cent book. Can you make money off the 99-cent book itself? That may not be likely, but it is a tool. And in fact, I'm going to do some testing where I haven't run a 99-cent deal on the first book in the Henry Wood series in maybe a year. But because I've improved my back matter so much, once I get all the books back matter done, and I mean, my read through I think will maybe end up being like $11, I'm probably going to consider a 99-cent strategy for the first book and run a bunch of ads and see if I make more money that way. I mean, it'll reduce that $11 number because I'll be taking out revenue off the very first book. But it is a strategy that I will probably employ. Maybe March 1 is probably when I'll start that research. So yes, it can be done. Sorry, I answer, my answers take so long, but I just love this stuff. I get so excited. No, Mr. Cohen.
So we had a couple of questions about the course. Sue asked, if you sign up for the course, are you, Brian, available occasionally for individual assistance in figuring out the ads, looking at back matter copy, that sort of thing?
Yes. In fact, we've got a separate group for the ads, and I have actually, one of the things that I have done is I've got a list. It's a fairly long list, admittedly, but in lecture 7, I told everyone in the course, and there's 117 people, I said, if you want me to work with you on your description for one of the books, there's a form that you fill out and you submit it, and then Lori, she puts it in a list, and then every week I am chipping out that list where I will go through, I will look at your description, I will write my version, I will send it back to you. Then we will usually either get on a Skype or chat through Facebook, and then do it together, because I want to help everybody with that first step. And then in the group, I'm encouraging people to, once they've sort of had that one-on-one on the description, to do their other descriptions and post it in the group. It's amazing how quickly people in this course are sort of getting the hang of copywriting. And yesterday or the day before, I was looking, and there were 3 or 4 examples of 2 back matter, 1 description. I don't remember exactly, but I didn't even have to answer, because by the time I noticed that, like 3 or 4 other students had given detailed analyses of their own that was spot on. And so it's a pretty good collection of authors, and I just love working with them. But the answer to your question is yes, I will help you. I will help you set up the tool, whether it's, well, there's lots of tools, but I'll absolutely help you out, because it's the thing I enjoy most in life right now is the students in this course. So there you go. Fire away with another question, Brian.
Randy had pointed out that he is already a part of the course, loves it, and just had to come here to get more Brian.
Oh, Randy. Randy's, yeah, he gets an A+ as a student. He has been great. He does the homework. He comes to lectures, and he's also just a great author citizen in the group. So I appreciate that, Randy. You're one of the good eggs.
Yeah, for sure. I can tell that. Another couple of folks were asking, those live lectures that you do on those subjects, like read through on the subjects, descriptions, do you record those and put those in the course?
Yeah, they're recorded, and usually it takes, usually it was taking I was putting up the next day. Now it's getting towards the end of the day. So the lectures are at 6 o'clock on Thursday evening. 3 hours is my next one. And then the next day, I will put that up. I had problems with the last lecture where, for whatever reason, because it was, I had trouble. I don't think that was the lecture's fault. So anyway, yes, they do get uploaded on there. And like with lecture 7, people asked, could I put up examples of like the back matter example. That was lecture 8. That was last week. So not only did I put up the lecture, but I put up 4 or 5 different examples of back matter in a Word document that you can look at. So I do always have that stuff available, and I'm also open to suggestions. If people say, "Hey, can you show me an example of a description or what have you?" Then I'll post that in the syllabus as well. And here. One thing that I have done throughout this course is I keep getting ideas. So if you go and look at the syllabus for tonight, it does not say the BookBub lecture. That's because the BookBub lecture came to me like 2 days ago, and I couldn't get it out of my mind because the results from this person I consult with were so amazing that I had to talk about the strategy we use. So the syllabus, I will eventually cover everything in the syllabus, but this will be the 3rd lecture that I have added to the mix, and we're only up to 9. That was not something I was originally offering when people signed up, but I just had to share it because it was such good stuff. So I hope that answers your question.
I think it does. I had one more quick question. We're going rapid fire here. 30-second answers or less.
Okay, I'm ready.
We can do this. So one more about the course. Someone who had just signed up. We have actually several. I saw Jeannie. I saw Melissa. Several other people are in. So welcome to the course, you guys. And I think Joe is in. And Joe said, when you go into the course, are you going into the Facebook group?
Oh yes, the Facebook group. That's something that, you know what? Because it sounds like there's a number of people that are signing up. What I will do probably tonight after the next lecture is I will send out an email. Or no, actually, because so many of you are signing up, and you could come to tonight's lecture if you can stay and inform me. I will send out a new email after we get done here, And I will include a link to the Facebook group that you have that. So that's 30 seconds.
Great. Okay, great answer. So Dan asked, what's the lowest bid you've gotten to work on a product display interest ad of late? To get it to turn on and start showing.
They have been hard. The thing that's so strange about those is I have been seeing some at, I mean, a very small amount of clicks at like 17 cents. I then got a couple at 8 cents. I mean, let's 3 clicks at 8 cents on ad out of nowhere that had been on for 5 or 6 weeks. I don't remember exactly, but they have just been really slow. But the thing about those ads is they typically take 2 to 6 weeks to turn on. And just like last year, just like the year before, this same thing happened in January. And I think the publishers spend a ton of money on the holidays. I think they lean over because there's people with new Kindles. But then early February is when I'm hoping that the bids will be more reasonable. So honestly, I wouldn't start accelerating or upping your bid until we get at least a couple weeks into February to see if it's calmed down, because I don't want people to get thinking they have to spend 25 cents or 35 cents or something crazy like that and then not notice that the bids have come down. On product display ads, they will spend what you bid. So
Joanna asked, I only have 2 books starting out with a 3rd one coming out in March. Is it possible to make Amazon ad work for me? The length is about 45,000, so she was going to price at $299.
I would price them at $499. Yes, it's possible. I know you think that seems like a lot of money for $5,000 book, but a novel's technically 40 and above, and so I like I said earlier, I would focus on getting book 3 out. I'm not sure that I would spend a lot of time on Amazon ads right now. Get book 3 out. At book 3, you're probably going to be able to run, nicely profitable ads, and presumably book 3 will be out like in February or March or whenever, and hopefully the bids will come down some, and those 2 things combined should make it much better for you with regards to the advertising.
Awesome. Roland asks, what is a reasonable expectation of time it'll take to learn Amazon ads?
6 months. I mean, and it's because most of the stuff that you need to learn, I mean, running ads takes 10 or 15 minutes to learn. And in my book, Mastering Amazon Ads, I actually write, I think chapter 4 maybe is a 3,000 word sort of letter about expectations and all of the things that you need to do. You need to know how to use Excel. You need to know how to do math. All crucial elements, and it takes a long time to get comfortable. But once you do, it's not hard math by any means. But people who fear math, it can take them weeks just thinking about it before they sit down and learn the equation. So I tell everyone that don't expect it to happen overnight. 6 months is probably reasonable, but people have gone from next to nothing to 5 figures very quickly. So
I think Lord asked about how many you need books. How many books do you need to make this course work for you?
I kind of feel like if you had 3 books with the caveat that you are going to be producing your books this year, because again, there's a learning curve. There's a learning curve to copywriting. There's a learning curve to the back matter and the analysis and stuff. So if you're going to release another couple this year, absolutely. If you've got 1 book and you're releasing a 3rd book in like September, you produce 1 a year, it's valuable. It is. But you know what? I don't close the course. So I think your time would be better spent just producing more books. And then when you get to 3 or 4 or 5, start taking the time to learn some of these other things. I wouldn't wait till 8 or 9, because if that takes you 2 years, you should optimize these before that. So my answer is, a few books to really make it get going. And if you've got 1, 2, or 3, you may want to focus on those.
Randy asked, when you're doing sponsored product keyword ads and you use the same keywords in 2 ads, are you competing against yourself?
The stock answer is yes. Is it possible that sometimes both ads will run? Yes. That isn't enough that I talk about it. In most cases, if you've got 2 ads, one of them will be on and generating a lot of impressions. One of them won't be doing anything. The key is the one that's on, it will, if it's doing 20, 30,000 impressions per day, and then all of a sudden drops to 1,000 impressions per day, it may never come back on. And so at that point, run from scratch, and then you can use that same set of keywords over and over and over. And so I typically don't run them more than about 2 days before I'm killing them.
Thank you. Thank you. We're starting to, I think the connection is starting to get a little wonky here. I wasn't noticing, Sean noticing it. So I'll just remind you guys, if you are interested in getting Brian's expertise and learning how to get Amazon ads to work for you, Joe mentioned in the comments, this isn't something you want to wing, and I agree with that. You want to go over to sellingforoffer.com/Amazon. You can learn more about Brian's course. You can decide to join. You can even get in for the night if you sign up. And if you're able, links there, new student, make sure you get a link to that. I know I have a question about people. So, Lorraine asked, when you are you're choosing which ads to use, have you ever gotten much value out of the product display ads, just targeting specific products?
I've been crazy things, and one of the early lectures, I suggested a test which actually had sort of mediocre results where I was doing crazy that were unrelated to books whatsoever. I had some clicks and I had some sales with those. It's not an area I spend a ton of time on, so I tend to spend my time on product display ads, product and product keyword ads, both the automatic and I do a lot with that. But again, it's always changing, and it's definitely worth testing. And I encourage you to at very least run a couple ads, see how it works for you.
All right, thank you. And we apologize for the connection getting a little wonky here towards the end. We're very fortunate that no tech gremlins got into the first 100 minutes of our apologies for it getting a little wonky towards the end. So how long, Alejandra asked, how long do you really check your ads, specific ads daily until maybe you can stop checking as often, or do you always need to kind of import the data from all of those ads?
Well, that's actually a great question, because I need to watch them like a hawk, and I think when you're doing this, you absolutely do. I use my tools, and now when I'm watching my video or say, you get to the point where there are things that you're looking for, and so I can get better at this. You all need to update it. If you didn't know, then you might say, trying to answer, what was there something happened, and you want to get to the answer to that, or something has been working great. I've been going along getting all these sales, and nothing is an issue. You want to get to the bottom of it. So then you spend time. You start to get all I'm not consistently ideal concept is, what's my cost per click? I know what profitable liability. I'm so familiar with it. It's doing fine. Is it getting a lot of impressions? Yes. So you will not be slow to get your analysis. Take up.
Off here because the sound has gotten all the way. A lot of people think that they are. Sorry about that.
I
But
got you.
thank you guys. This has been great. Thank you, Brian. I appreciate you sharing this with the whole gang. And we were a little too ambitious with it. I think that that can slow things down. So we feel you have everything great. So thank you to everyone who stuck around. You guys are interested in continuing your education, we have an awesome opportunity for you to go to sellingforauthors.com and check it out. Go find and then go, go wild on some of the little tricks he's going to be sharing in there today. All the tech works. We'll replay it. We will send it. So thank you, Brian. The last, any last words working on your work and see if that helps.
Thank you.
It said